The story of the Nephilim, first mentioned in Genesis 6:4, has intrigued and puzzled scholars and believers for centuries. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown. This passage is shrouded in mystery and fascination, as it references beings that seem to transcend common understanding. The Nephilim. But who were these giants, really? And who were the sons of God, who joined with the daughters of men? To better understand, we must delve into the meaning of these expressions and consider their spiritual and moral implications. Many theologians believe that the sons of God were fallen angels, celestial beings who, in an act of rebellion against God, descended to earth and took human wives. This interpretation is supported by other biblical passages such as Jude 1:6, which mentions angels who did not keep their positions of authority but abandoned their own home, and were condemned for their act of disobedience. This union between angelic beings and humans is thought to have resulted in the birth of the Nephilim, a race of giants known for both their strength and their renown. The existence of the Nephilim prompts a profound reflection on the nature of sin and its consequence. The rebellion of the fallen angels represents a break from an order established by God. Transgression that did not remain confined to the spiritual realm, manifested in a tangible and concrete way. The Nephilim, products of this forbidden union, symbolize the chaos that can arise when God's creatures stray from their intended. In our quest to understand the meaning of this narrative, we should also consider its moral impact on its original audience. The reference to the Nephilim as heroes of old, men of renown, leads us to reflect on how humanity, in its fallen state, often glorifies what is powerful and impressive in the eyes of the world, yet may be far from God's will. The physical strength and fame associated with the Nephilim did not ensure justice or holiness, and this may serve as a divine warning about the dangers of valuing societal grandeur over obedience to God. As we reflect on this passage in our own times, it invites us to consider the forces that shape our culture and values. Are we, like in the days of the Nephilim, allowing modern giants, wealth, power, fame, occupy a greater place in our hearts than God? And what are the consequences of such choices? The story of the Nephilim also highlights the importance of spiritual purity. If we accept the idea that the sons of God were fallen angels, then their union with the daughters of men can be seen as a corruption of divine creation, a mixing that should not have occurred. This leads us to reflect on the importance of guarding our hearts and lives against what might corrupt our faith and our walk with God. Additionally, the narrative of the Nephilim teaches us about the limits that God places on His creation. Although these beings were powerful and feared, they were not beyond divine control. Eventually, the wickedness and corruption they introduced to the world contributed to God's judgment in the form of the flood. Clear demonstration that, despite the multiplication of sin, God's justice prevailed. In a more practical and personal context, the story of the Nephilim challenges us to examine our own lives and assess whether we are allowing negative influences, whether spiritual or cultural, to dominate our choices and guide our path. Just as the Nephilim were the result of a union not intended by God, we might ask ourselves, are we allowing something in our lives to merge with what does not glorify God? And how can we correct this course to align more closely with His will? The Nephilim also serve as a warning against the idolatry of power and physical strength. In a world where greatness and impressive feats are often valued, the Nephilim represent the danger of being seduced by what appears invincible or grand in human eyes. But as the Bible shows us, true power is not in physical strength or fame, but in God. He is the only one worthy of our reverence and worship, and it is in Him that we find true security and protection. Therefore, as we reflect on the Nephilim, we are called to reassess where we place our trust and rediscover God's greatness in our lives. He is greater than any giant, and His promises are more powerful than any obstacle. The Nephilim are mentioned again in Numbers 13:33, where the spies of Israel sent to explore the land of Canaan report seeing giants. We saw the Nephilim there. The descendants of Enoch come from the Nephilim. We seemed like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and we looked the same to them. This description reinforces the image of the Nephilim as imposing beings that inspired fear and awe. The spy's account helps us understand the magnitude of these creatures and how their presence affected the Israelites' perception of themselves and their ability to fulfill God's plan. Understanding the presence of the Nephilim in the Bible is more than just curiosity about ancient beings. It is a lesson on how we handle challenges that seem larger than ourselves. The spy's vision was distorted by fear, to the point where they forgot God's promises. They looked at the giants and forgot the Almighty God who was by their side. This makes us ask, are we allowing the giants in our lives to overshadow our faith in the God who has promised us victory? This passage invites us to reflect on our own perspective. Are we allowing problems and obstacles that seem like giants to replace our trust in God? Just like the Israelites, we can fall into the trap of focusing on the size of the problem rather than on the power of God. The story of the Nephilim, therefore, reminds us that no matter how great the challenge, God is greater. He is capable of giving us the strength to overcome any giant, no matter how daunting it may seem. Thus, as we reflect on the Nephilim, we are called to reassess where we place our trust and rediscover God's greatness in our lives. He is greater than any giant, and His promises are more powerful than any obstacle. If this reflection has touched your heart and you feel called to trust more in God and less in the giants you face, share your experience in the comments. Let's continue this journey of faith together. And if you wish to deepen your biblical knowledge and strengthen your spiritual walk, subscribe to the channel to watch more videos like this. Remember, with God by your side, no giant is too big. Reflecting on the giants in our lives can be both a challenge and a revelation. As we confront our personal Nephilim, it's essential to remember that our struggles are not meant to defeat us, but to draw us closer to God's power and grace. Each giant we face is an opportunity to see God's hand at work in our lives, reinforcing our faith and trust in His promises. By sharing your stories and joining our community, you not only gain strength from collective wisdom, but also inspire others to face their giants with renewed courage and faith. Together, we can encourage each other to see beyond the obstacles and recognize the limitless power of God in our life. As we journey together in faith, let's remember that every challenge, no matter how daunting, is an opportunity to deepen our relationship with God. Embracing our struggles with trust and perseverance allows us to witness His transformative power in our lives. Let us stay united in prayer and encouragement, lifting each other up as we face our own giants. May we continually seek God's guidance and strength, knowing that He is the ultimate source of our courage and hope. With every step we take, let's commit to honoring Him and reflecting His love and power in all that we do.